Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis, and this is for trading on October the 3rd, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll get started with our calendar here. So let's see, what do we have? In terms of our data today, actually, we had negative data come out for the US as well as for oil. So we saw this non-farm employment numbers here were below expected. And as a result of that, we have seen a US dollar drop. And we also saw crude oil inventories here. The drawdown was worse than expected. And as a result, we saw Canadian dollar declined and oil didn't do too well as well. So going into tomorrow here, we do have a bank holiday out of China. And then we have trade balance numbers coming up tonight for Australian dollar. And then tomorrow on Thursday, we also, we have an FOMC member speaking here, a ton of PMI numbers out of the Eurozone here, final services PMI out of the Eurozone. And then we have more FOMC members speaking. And then we have final services PMI number here for the US. So a couple of numbers here lately, we have seen negative numbers come out for the US. So the concerns in regards to the upcoming recession for US have gone up, and this is why we have seen WIX become more volatile. There's more, our WIX is indicating more volatility, and it's been a negative for the US dollar, and we have seen equity markets drop as a result of that. So if we see more negative data coming out of the US here tomorrow, that will be negative for the US dollar, and we are likely to see then equity markets drop as a result as well. And then our yen crosses are likely to drop as a result of that as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But so we have few FOMC members, and then we have retail sales data out of Australia here. So let's go on to the charts. That's it for our data here. So we'll start off by taking a look at the euro dollar here. So we saw that euro turned around here. It was moving lower, it came into the support and moved higher. So this is the range that it's been trading in for the last several days. And now we are at the top of the range, prices into resistance. So we have to be careful. But this is a nice bullish candle close. So we could see price go higher as a result of that. So bias here for euro dollar is bullish today. And what I will look for here would be a pullback potentially, and then a further move to the upside. So bias is to the upside for euro dollar. First target is 1.10, then 1.1020 back into these previous highs here. The concern here, the caution would be to look at our, the caution would be this here. So as we can see, prices into resistance. If it doesn't go through the resistance, we could see price drop. So if price doesn't break the high of today, it could come back into the range here. So just be mindful of that. But otherwise, bias is bearish. Bias is bullish here, looking for price to move higher as soon as we see a break to the upside here. Once price goes above today's high, we are likely to see a further move to the upside. Pound dollar here. So for the pound dollar, I'm looking for price to, this one is neutral. So at this point, price is neutral. We have seen price just go in this range for the last little while. It's just been sideways. So back to back here, we have had 2 days where price hasn't really done a whole lot. With this one here, I would basically look for price to trade in a range. So based on technicals here, the bias is neutral. However, watch out for Brexit-related comments, because we are likely to see more Brexit-related comments come out. So anything that is positive for this will be good for British pound, and we could see pound go up. So that could, so price could break out of this range. If it goes through the high, I will look for price to go higher here. But for now, bias is neutral, and I'm looking for price to trade between 1.2350 and 1.2200. So neutral bias for for pound dollar. Aussie dollar here, price went into our support level, and then we have a rejection. So two back-to-back rejections here. So today's candle close is more neutral. It's an indecision candle. It's not a strong bullish candle, even though we have a rejection here to the downside. So what I would look for here, so bias is neutral here as well, but I would look for a bit of a drop here and then potentially a move to the upside into 0.6740. Now, for some reason, if it does go through the bottom here, then we're likely to see a continuation. But as long as price stays below the low here at 0.6670 level, we're likely to see another rejection and a move higher. So neutral bias for Aussie here as well. New Zealand dollar here, this is looking bullish. Now, keep in mind price is into resistance, so we have to be careful. It's a bullish candle close, so I will look for an up move, but same thing as we saw with euro here, even though it's a bullish candle close, because we are into resistance, if price does not go above today's high, we could see a turnaround here. So that's something to keep in mind here. So bias is bullish, but with caution here just because of the resistance. But once we see the price go through, then I would look for a pullback and a continuation higher. However, if it does not go through the high here, chances are it can come back down and start trading in a range here. So for now, bias is bullish. Next target is 0.6350. But like I said, if it doesn't go through the high here of today, then we're likely to see price become, price go sideways here. For now, though, bias is bullish for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here, this has been interesting. We had a huge move to the upside here after we saw that the oil inventories, there was a big buildup in inventories higher than forecasted. So all that negative kind of concerns that people had in regards to oil, all of that have been kind of tossed off to the wayside here. And we had a buildup in the inventories, which is negative for oil and negative for Canadian dollar. So even though US dollar was not very strong, we did see a big move to the upside here in our dollar CAD here. Now, do keep in mind, so bias here is bullish, but keep in mind we are just about into the support resistance area. So right here, we are into support resistance as well as all the way here. So we have a bit of a support resistance zone here in here as well as in here. So for this to continue higher, we'll have to see a break of the high. Then we could look for price to go higher. So bias is bullish, however, with a caution here as well. So it looks like we are at that point in the market where things are a little bit up in the air, and we are at a turning point in our trend. So things could turn around. So watch out for that. So with this one, if it doesn't go through today's high, we could see a move back down, just like we saw here. So we had a big bullish candle close, and then price tried to go higher, came back, and it became range bound. So we could see that happen on this side as well. If it doesn't break the high, this one can go sideways here. For now, though, bias is bullish, but we have to see a hold above the resistance here at 1.33. Let's see here, 1.3340. So for now, a bias is bullish. If price holds above a 1.3340, I would be looking for a continuation. However, if it doesn't break through that level, this one could turn around. So watch out for that. For now, though, bias is bullish. 1.3380 is the next target to the upside here. Silver here. Silver has moved up. So markets have not done, or equity markets have not done too well today. As a result, safe haven assets outperformed. So we saw a move up in silver. So bullish bias here. Now, keep in mind, we are into resistance. So if it doesn't go through 17, 17.50, if it doesn't hold above, then it could come back down. At this point, though, bias is bullish, and I will look for a hold above and then a move higher. First target is 17.90, and then second target here, we have, second target is 18, I think we could go a little bit higher, 18.20. So bullish bias here for silver. Gold, a big move higher. This was into resistance yesterday. We had talked about this, but it went through. Now it's into another support and resistance level, but bias is bullish again. The caution would be if it doesn't go through. So if it doesn't hold above today's high, we could see it come back down. However, bias is bullish. I would look for a bit of a pullback and a move higher. So bullish bias here for gold as well. And next target here is 1516, so 1,516 level, and then 1536. So bullish bias here for gold. Oil, huge drop here in oil as a result of the inventories build up in inventory. So we saw oil drop, and as a result, we saw Canadian dollar decline as well. That's why we saw that big move up in dollar CAD. So here we have a bearish move to the, or bearish bias here. And next target here would be 51.60. And then we have 50.85. So bias is bearish. In terms of the pullback, I would look for 83. And as long as it stays below, looking for it to drop here. So bias is bearish here. Actually, I should say 52.80. If it stays below 52.80, I will look for this to drop further. 51.65 is the first target. 50.85 is the second target. Copper here, copper is actually looking neutral. We haven't seen a real positive candle close for either in either direction. A small candle body with pins on both sides, that's a neutral candle, so indecision candle, and as such price can move in either direction. The best way to trade this kind of a candle is to look for the high and the low. If price breaks through the high, I'm looking for 2.58. If it goes through the low, I would look for 2.47. So bias for now is neutral for copper. Bitcoin is going sideways. We have a slight bearish candle close here, but price is neutral at this point. It's just going sideways. Doesn't really look like it's keen on moving in either direction. Overall bias still remains to the downside. So in this case, I am looking for price to go and test 85.45. If it stays below, looking for it to come back towards the bottom of this range again at 77.20. So neutral bias for Bitcoin. All right, equities now. Equities, a huge drop here in equities. That's why we have seen the yen crosses safe haven as well as safe haven assets do quite well. So gold and silver went up, yen went up, except for Swiss franc because those comments came out of Switzerland. So other than that, safe haven assets have performed well today because of the drop in US number and numbers and concerns in regards to the recessions. So in this case, we were looking for a drop. I wasn't expecting such a big drop, but since we have that, bias is still bearish. So in this case, I would look for a pullback potentially into 2,900 and then still bias to the short side here. This is what I'm looking for. So next target is 2,850. So bearish bias here for S&P 500, and 2,850 is the first target, 2,830 is the second target here. NASDAQ, same thing here. Yesterday we had a bearish close. Today we have a bearish close. So looking for a further move to the downside here. The next target is 7,500. And then we have 7,440. So in this case, the potential pullback level here is 7,580. And then looking for a drop here. So bearish bias here for our NASDAQ as well. 7,500 first target, 7,440 second target. FTSE, a huge drop. We saw that this was into the top of the range, came towards the bottom of the range, broke through, looking quite bearish. Now, what we have seen is when we get a huge move to the downside, sometimes it can snap back and go in the opposite direction. So watch out for something like that, because that things can just turn around quite suddenly, especially when we have big drops here. And if we see that Brexit stuff is going forward, there's positive news there, then we could see this one go up. But for now, bias is bearish. I'm looking for a pullback towards 12,000 and then a drop towards 11,850. And then our next target here would be 11,750. So bearish bias for, sorry, this was DAX. I was talking about FTSE. Okay, bearish bias here for DAX. FTSE here, same thing. We have a huge drop. If we get positive comments, actually positive comments about Brexit would apply to both of them, DAX as well as FTSE, because both euro and our pound will be impacted. So same way, DAX as well as FTSE will be impacted by any positive Brexit development. So keep an eye on the comments, and any positive developments are likely to push our pound higher as well as our euro higher, and DAX as well as FTSE higher. So here bias is bearish. In terms of the pullback, I will look for 71.60 potentially and then a drop here. So bearish bias for our FTSE as well. Next, last but not least, we have Nikkei here. Biases again to the downside. We have had a big move down here as well. In this case, next target is 21,150, and if price continues lower, 21,000. So bias is bearish for Nikkei here. So that's all I have for today. Guys, have a great trading day tomorrow, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.